Hey, this is Captain Jim Palmer, the Dream Business Coach, and you are listening to Awakened Nation with the amazing Brad Zales.
A huge shift is taking place on planet Earth. People seem to be waking up. Tired of the way things used to be, they are creating something brand new and changing the world we live in. My name is Brad Zales, and I get to sit down with the next generation of idea makers, the disruptors, and the game changers. Everyday people, just like you and me, from all over, who are doing amazing things. Welcome to Awakened Nation.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a good friend on today, Captain Jim Palmer, and I believe I was the first one to call you Captain Jim Palmer.
You might have been. I know.
Yeah. Jim, when did we meet? It was like 2013.
Yeah, it was back when, it was the early years of my mastermind. And then you and I met, I think, at a Tony Wrubleski event in person, or it was a Bob Berg event. It was one of the two.
No, it was Tony, and it was in San Diego, and it was the 2013.
Was that the 75th anniversary of Think and Grow Rich?
The Think and Grow Rich, and Napoleon Hill Foundation was there, and a lot of big keynote speakers were there. And everybody was talking about you, man. And I wanted to meet you, but you were in crisis. Your books hadn't arrived.
Well, it was interesting. So just jump into a little mindset bullcrap. But so Tony had asked me to keynote, and I'm like, well, that's an honor. And then I'm looking at all the other people being like, why me? I mean, God, you got all these superstars up there. What are you asking me for?
Yeah. Well, they had Jeffrey Gitomer, John Assaraf from The Secret was there. I couldn't believe that. Yeah, it was heavy hitters, and I was supposed to speak on the second day, and I was supposed to speak on the follow-up book that never got published from Napoleon Hill, and that is Outwitting the Devil.
Right.
So Tony asked me to speak on the second day about the chapter on doubt, self-doubt, and man, I couldn't believe that we had a small crowd, but that was the first time I got a real standing ovation. And
you got one at my event. I had you speak at Dream Business Academy. Yeah. And you got like fun. 42-minute standing ovation.
No,
4 minutes. I don't know.
We had so much fun at your event. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, I know we sound like two friends rambling. We
are going live at some point.
Yeah. So, Jim Palmer's events, I want you to go to them. They're kick-ass. Sorry to say that. They are kick-ass, filled with information that you can use. And Jim gives you practical advice that actually works. Okay. So, and then on certain nights, he has a certain guest star like myself to come in and just give like a little teaching lesson. So mine was on how to be a keynote speaker. And
right.
I think what freaked people out is I said, you got to take the ums and the ands out of your vocabulary.
And everybody just stopped listening at that point.
They were like, holy crap, I do that all the time. And so your daughter was flipping out because she was humming and ahhing. She goes, I hate you, Brad Zales,
But now look at her.
Yeah.
Oh, man, she's kicking butt.
He is kicking butt. Let me read your bio so everybody knows who the heck you are. I'll go over the key points. But Jim Palmer is a serial entrepreneur, marketing expert, and an in-demand small business coach. For the last 30 years, Jim and his wife, Stephanie, were practical and predictable, living a modest life in suburban Philadelphia, where they raised 4 children. In 2016, Jim and Stephanie traded in practical and predictable for adventurous and exciting. They sold their home of 30 years to live on their boat full-time. And only then did Jim truly leverage his dream business to live his dream lifestyle. And I believe I was the first to call you Captain Jim because right after you got the boat, I remember when you were showing pictures of the boat and how you got the boat, your dog, everything. We were at the Dream Business Academy live, and I was just so jazzed to see you take these risks because that's the kind of person I am.
It was an unbelievable, I'm sure we'll talk about it because there's so many things that relate to being an entrepreneur to what Stephanie and I did.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of swallow hard moments. I'll tell you, we traveled 12,000 miles in 5 years, Brad.
That's incredible. Well, I was following you online. I mean, you would post a lot of times when you go see your grandkids or you're going up and down the coast. It was very exciting to see people just go, you know what? I can go to this next level. I just have to plan it. And by the way, we talked about this, but Jim is the founder of the Dream Business Academy, a live business building seminar and Dream Business Mastermind and coaching program, which I was a part of. It is incredible. You get an incredible mastermind with an incredible group of people. I mean, that's how I met Adam Homey. He's my man.
27 members in the Dream Business Mastermind now.
Yeah. And it's incredible. And what I love about you is your practical teaching methods and things like that. You're also a video marketer, podcaster. I've been on your show, and he's taught thousands of entrepreneurs both virtually and one-on-one in his mastermind and coaching programs. And he's written several books. We're going to talk about those. And today he's floating from his home.
Jeez. Don't make me cry.
He's in his living room, and I just want to welcome a good friend to the show, Mr. Jim Palmer.
Thank you, Brad. Great to see you. I mean, it feels like we lost touch other than virtually. Stephanie, I'm talking about Stephanie and I with so many people, but I've obviously followed you. I watched your great podcast. Congratulations. What is this, season 4 or season 5 now?
This is season 4. We're about to end
artwork is great. I know your designer very well.
Thank you.
A wise ass word, but very well. And I mean, you're multi-talented, and I've always had a lot of respect for you.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, I've had a crazy week. We've been in the middle of magazine production, which I haven't done in a long time. I started out in 1979 with my very first magazine cover, and I'm getting that old. But what happened is we spent a week really digging deep, and the cover story is about Damon John, and so this has been a week. I believe we celebrated Entrepreneurs Day a couple of days ago. And so this is right in line with this, this success, this, moving into this next level. But the thing I wanted to start with you, Jim, and this is what impressed the hell out of me. Let's go back in time to that week, that hell week or 2 weeks. Jim, you lost your job and you got diagnosed with something. Tell our listeners what happened.
So I was 41 years old. I still had 4 teenagers at home. For the most part of our marriage, I was the major breadwinner. Later on, when the kids were in school, Stephanie got a part-time job. But for the most part, I was supporting our family. And I was VP of marketing for this training company. And the day after I got back from a week-long family vacation, we roll up through Canada and stuff, my position had been eliminated. So I was out of work. I really had quite a healthy ego, had a lot of, confidence and self-esteem. I'd done pretty well for myself. And I told Stephanie, well, that's a shock, but I said, honey, don't worry about it. I'll be fielding multiple lucrative job offers in a matter of days, maybe weeks. And then that literally went almost a year and a half, I think 16 months. And for some reason, well, I know now God had other plans for me, but for some reason I could not land a position, Brad. 12 months into this horrific thing where my confidence is just crushed. I'm watching my neighbors go to work. Stephanie went to work full time. The kids are going to school. And I'm like, what a friggin' loser I am. And then I got cancer on top of it. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. Well, suddenly I'm not worried about finding a job anymore. Let's see how I stay alive. But interestingly enough, through that whole situation of finding out, what stage it was, who's going to be my surgeon, all this and that, I got a gig for about 60 days being a consultant for a chain of musical instrument retail stores. And they wanted me, I had a background in franchising. I was 2 positions before I was head of a national franchise. And they said, I want to find out if it makes sense to franchise their business. So I'm saying, okay. And I think it was like $5,000. So big money for me when you're broke. And so I'm doing this feasibility study. Oh, I got a call from a surgeon. Bubba, I'm like so weights on my shoulders and stuff. And literally, so I had my surgery. I think it was the last Friday in August of 2001. And the day before that Thursday, I'm on the phone with my new employer who was in Maryland. So I would have had to move to Maryland from Pennsylvania. And we came to terms, and, we kind of virtually shook on the phone. He says, I'm going on vacation. When I get back in 3 weeks, I'll FedEx you the documents and we'll get this thing going. And so, Brad, I went to surgery the next morning. My wife and my parents came up. no matter how old you are, it's still good to have your mom around your dad.
It is.
So the three of them drove me down to Philadelphia to University of Penn Hospital for the surgery. And I'm thinking, well, I got one monkey off my back. Now let me get healthy, because I never shared this. I figured, well, I'm not going to share it. If I have to, I will. But why, add some, squirrel to the mix, so to speak, wherever that expression means. But so anyway, so it's September 11th, 2001. I'm on the couch recovering from my surgery. And you know what happened? The planes hit the towers and we're like, holy crap. The guy gets back from vacation, calls me up, says, hey, Jim, wow, can you believe what's going on? I said, yeah. Said, listen, I know it's going to be a shock to you, but we're going to put our plans on hold. It's like $200,000 to $300,000 to start a franchise. I mean, before you even sell the first one, I mean, marketing, legal, so much stuff. Anyway, I said, man, that was it. I was right back at the lowest part. And Brad, I remember I rolled off the couch, got on my knees. And for a year, I've been doing half-hearted prayers. Hey, I need help. Can you help me find a job, Lord, whatever. And I said, I've made a complete mess of my life. What do you want me to do? Just tell me and I'll do it. And I literally he told me to become an entrepreneur. And I'm like, wait, is this the right number? Are you kidding? I'm not only broke, I'm $35,000 in debt right now. You want me to start a business? Right. And, but yeah. And so I started, and great fanfare. 12 months later, I was head of my own corporation called Dynamic Communication, and I had exactly zero revenue. So I was like getting up at 4 a.m., stocking shelves at my local Target, getting out at 10 o'clock, and then going knocking on doors and trying to get clients. And a year later, I started getting clients there. That was the beginning. I think that's the story you wanted.
Yeah. And this is, I was going to ask you, how did you survive with that mindset? But you covered it. You got on your knees and you prayed to God, and it's faith.
I needed direction bad. And, that was, I look back on it now and I have such clarity, obviously with 2020 hindsight. I needed to go through that to make me a better man and to actually do what I'm doing now and things like that. But, it was such a turning point for me, releasing, because we all got our issues. I figured I had an okay relationship with God, but okay, you're in control of this, but I'm in control of my career. We got an understanding there, right? Said, oh yeah, watch this, boom, career's gone. And it just was one thing after the other, but then it was a real turning point. There was a book called The 7 Seasons of the Man in the Mirror, Brad. So I'm going to church more often and things like that. And the men's group at our church that we were going through, Stephanie had been going to church, dragging the kids on Sunday. I was that typical Norman Rockwell. I'm hiding behind the thing while Stephanie and the kids go to church. It's a great picture. She actually bought that for me once. It was kind of funny. And anyway, so the men's group on Father's Day gave this book to all the men in the church called 7 Seasons of the Man in the Mirror. And I thought, no, I'm not going to read a God book. I'm reading my business books. I'm reading CIA novels. Well, something made me pick it up one night. Turns out the guy, Patrick Morley, was a businessman. So that piqued me a little bit. I got through 3 chapters before I could go to sleep. It's like 2 a.m. I read chapter 3, and it was called Season of Crises. And God loves you so much that he will occasionally bless you with a season of crises. He will bring you to your knees to get you into a right relationship. And then season 4 and season 5 is renewal and rebuilding. And I finally understood, why did I just go through 18 months of crap and then 1 year of being a business owner, but having zero income, and, being a courier and working at Target and doing all this different stuff to put food on the table. I finally understood what it meant.
You said something at one of your events I was at, and it stuck with me ever since. And you said, you do what you got to do, my friends. If you have to get a job at Lowe's, you get a job at Lowe's. If you have to get a job at Target, you go do it. If you have to, shuck fries or whatever, you do it, because as an entrepreneur, you are the chief cook, bottle washer, and janitor. You are everything. And there are going to be that dark night of soul, where you just have to buckle up and say, you know what, I need a steady paycheck. And
I remember that.
Yeah.
Here I am, and I didn't go to a Target an hour from home. I said, that's too much driving. So I went literally the one 3 miles down the road from where we lived. Yep. And, so 4 a.m. shift, not many people see me, but the store opened at like 8 or 9. So for 2 hours, I'm on the floor putting Tide on the shelves. And somebody came up to me that I kind of knew, and he goes, Jim, what's going on? I said, well, blah, blah. He goes, how does it make you feel? I said, it makes me feel okay. I'm feeding my kids. You got to do what you got to do. I think that was the story. And interestingly enough, Brad, it's so crazy how you go through things. But I have a client today who's actually, it's a partnership, and they're not doing real well. And they're like, we are entrepreneurs. I said, one of you go get a job. Whoever's not the salesman, the rainmaker, you go get the job. The other one, keep trying to make sales. Just because you own a business, you need money to live. There's no harm in that.
Right. Well, I think as an entrepreneur, you can feel like, well, I'm a failure, but I'll be honest with you. I've slept on the floor of my office. Okay. I moved in with somebody because I couldn't afford 2 rents. Okay.
Yeah.
And we didn't have heat. Okay. So, you do what you got to do. I mean, a lot of people nowadays want to be an entrepreneur, and they think by quietly quitting and working from home and doing just enough to mail it in, they can do their other side projects. We're talking about building a business, not creating another job where you work from home.
Right.
We're talking about creating real financial headway. And the one thing, and every show that I've ever had somebody on where they speak about failure, that's when everybody leans in, because there's this BS that's floating out there that you just do it all and you become a success. And you're living proof that it's hard work, determination, shutting the hell up and listening, getting, in the mud, rolling up your sleeves and, getting a job if you have to. And then at night, build your business.
Yeah. The other thing I shared at Dream Business Academy, you'll probably remember this, is very often I'd stop and I'd do a Q&A session. People, how'd you get through that first year? Well, first of all, 4 teenagers consume a lot of food. But second of all, on my side of there was 2 things. Number one was I knew someday, God willing, I would meet the Lord someday, hopefully further down. Yep. But he's going to ask me, what made you think it would be so easy? What, you think you're just going to start and have 6-7 figure business, whatever. So I didn't want to have that embarrassing moment. But the other thing is I kept hanging on the word ridiculous. How ridiculous would it be for me to quit now, after I'd already put 3 months in? How ridiculous would it be for me to quit now after I put 6 months in? And the longer I go now, it's like 10 months. How ridiculous. I kept saying it louder and more forceful. How ridiculous. You put 12 months in. How ridiculous would it be for you to quit now? Because, I read the book, 3 Feet from Gold, all that kind of stuff. I'm getting closer. And literally it was in my 12th month where I landed a big chamber of commerce. And then other jobs came because, again, with hindsight, that whole first year, I was planting seeds. I was a madman, and I nurtured them. And so that's one of my expressions. If you want to have a big harvest, you got to plant a lot of seeds. Well, that's what I was doing. Little did I know I couldn't just hang a shingle, build a crappy website with some kind of front page.
Inconceivable.
I know. And then suddenly bring in $100,000. It didn't happen.
There's 3 types of people. Okay. And I used to think there were 2. And then I realized I'm the 3rd. Okay. And that is when, the proverbial, what hits the fan. There's the person who runs towards the fire.
Yeah.
There's the other person who runs away from the fire. But then there's the 3rd, and that's the person who freezes. And you seem to be the kind who runs towards it.
It's interesting you say that. I don't know why my mind goes different places, but there was one time we're in a very small town on our boat, and it was winter. So we were going south to Florida from the Chesapeake Bay. Stephanie woke up at like 1 a.m. She goes, Jim, I smell smoke. And I'll tell you what, in like 1/1000th of a second from a deep sleep to holy crap, and like charging all around the boat, trying to find it. She grabbed a coat, she grabbed the dog, and we have a little ditch bag with, passports and stuff that if it's available, we take it. So she took off the boat and said, come on. I said, no, I gotta find out what's going on. I'm not going to die. It's a diesel boat, so it doesn't explode. But if there's fire, I'll get off. But literally in like 5 minutes, there was 6 or 7 giant burly firefighters on my boat. And they clearly weren't panicked because they're going, oh, this is really nice. I'm like looking around, flashlight. I'm sniffing all these little cupboards. Where's that smell coming from? And they're going, this is nice. So Stephanie is a runner. I stayed.
Thanks, honey. I'll just stay right here.
No, but you're right. And, it's one of the things that I think has helped me achieve success as an entrepreneur, but also as a boat captain, because you face some serious crap. I'm telling you, there's been at least half a dozen moments in 5 years where I don't know if we thought we were going to die, but it was going to be horrifically unpleasant. I don't know if your brain goes that far, but somehow we get through it. And, but it's like, I never quit. I just never quit. I mean, I'm going to find that squeak, that noise. I'm going to figure out what that smell is. I will do this. I'm going to take that wave and we're not going to tip over. I will not quit. It's just, I don't know. That's just the way I'm wired, I guess.
Well, what I've always admired about you is you will not quit, but you have a great sense of humor about yourself. I mean, you're capable of laughing in the worst situations. Like when your books weren't arriving, I was just trying to find them and help you set up your table with what you did have. And you were just pissed. And then you cracked a joke and we were both rolling. And I'm like, this
And you remember what I did next? Michelle Prince was right next to me. That's when I first met her in person. She's all set up. And she was all proud of herself. And I took my very immature, I cleared her table off. And she's like, Jim Palmer, what the hell? That was pretty funny. We're great friends today. But you know what, Brad, in all seriousness, laughter, and you know this, I mean, you're very funny. Laughter cures so many problems, psychologically, physically. I mean, it's an icebreaker. If you can make people, and then, interesting, I think it was in a Dan Kennedy book, as most of my bookshelf is Dan Kennedy says, if you can get people laughing, you can teach them something because that means they're listening.
That is incredible. I learned that the hard way. This is a guy, I'm funny naturally. I did stand-up comedy professionally for 8 years. I was an executive of a publicly traded company. And the first time I did a keynote speech, I bombed miserably. So I sent my tape to, at the time I was working with Stephen S. Little, who tells the milkshake story. And he looked at my tape and he goes, oh, well, let me ask you a question. You did stand-up comedy, right? I said, yeah. He goes, did that guy show up at that gig? And I said, no. He goes, what you did was lecture. He said, you can't lecture.
Mr. Professional Businessman.
Yeah, totally. Right? And then here's the funniest thing. He got to know me through the years and he knows I do impersonations. He goes, Brad, with 90% of my clients, when they do an impersonation, I'm like, don't do that. He's like, stop. He goes, but with you, do them. You are good and you nail it. So, we're trying to figure out that secret sauce that makes you. And for me, I was hiding those talents simply because I had this idea that people will only take me seriously if I get up there and I go, Bueller, and I do the right, I do the right pedantic stuff. And I learned, what, screw it. And I get up there and I just enjoy life and show them what I've learned. And you do the same. How did you discover this? Because you were telling me this great story where you went to appear on stage and you wore the cape. And you had to practice diving up on stage because
Adam Urbanski. Remember Adam? He's still very much around. A millionaire marketing mentor, Adam Urbanski, brought me out to California to speak at one of his events, and this was back when I'm the newsletter guru, and I had a caricature, and the caricature had a cape. I had with the NG for newsletter guru, and he's saving small business owners one newsletter at a time. I was going with all that marketing. And I actually, I had a cape made and I made the mistake of telling Adam about it. He goes, bring it to California. I said, okay, I'm bringing it, but I'm just going to, it's a prop, right? He goes, no, I want you to wear it. And Adam goes, and he's from Poland. He's got that crazy accent. He goes, Jim, if you don't wear it, I'm going to embarrass you so much you won't believe it. So literally I was going to do it. And I said, all right, and by this point, I'm speaking more, I'm getting more comfortable, getting over myself, which is another thing we should talk about, is being okay just to be yourself. So I said, it was a stage, and it had to be like a 3-foot riser. It wasn't one of these little 18 inchers. Yeah. And I said, wow, I don't want to, like, Superman would not walk up and climb on stage. He would run up. So I asked the sound guy, what time will you be here? He says, I'm usually here about 7 o'clock, just setting up and doing sound check before people. I say, I'll meet you here. So I get out of bed. I'm just putting sweats on and stuff. And I go down there and I said, just don't mind me. I got to practice. And I practiced running from the back of the room and I leapt up on stage because the last thing I want to do is fall flat on my face in front of everybody. Right. So and Melanie Benson, my great friend, was there, and I had her record it and take pictures. I'm running up there, the cape is flowing, and I turn around and I just did this, do the left, right. And I use those pictures still to this day, but yeah. But you know what's interesting, Brad, and I think this is when in 2009, that little Kodak flip camera came out. It's a little more modern than your Viewmasters behind you there, but it was the original inexpensive camera. And that's when I started Newsletter Guru TV. And I started pretty much like you described a few minutes ago. Hey, I'm Jim. I'm going to share some very good business information with you. Because I felt if I'm going to start to be a coach, I can't just be my normal clown self, right? So, and you know what? I had 1 viewer, 2 viewer, 3 viewers, whatever. And then about 2 months into it, I had these kayaks. So we'd go kayaking right near our house. And I can't just stand in front of a bookcase. So I started mixing it up. I'd walk my dog, Toby, at the time, then I got kayaking and I got a little tiny tripod and I put it in the cup holder. So I'm going like this. Hey, it's Jim Palmer. Blah.
I remember that. Yeah. You showed some of those.
Lee Miltier actually asked me to shoot a commercial for one of her products, which I did. And, talking about her program, which actually the boat was into land because I couldn't go keep. So I'm going like this, but the boat is actually on land with the water behind me. But she loved it. She still shows it. But anyway, I'm getting ready to get my kayak. It's like April, Brad. So the water's probably 50 degrees, kind of chilly.
Yeah, chilly.
But I said, I always used to do this little, I don't know what you would call it, a cold opening. And then, hey, it's Jim Palmer, the Newsletter Guru. Today I want to talk to you about the difference between action and ideas. Come on, let's get going. And then I'd turn off the camera, I'd get my kayak and turn it back on, and then I'd shoot the video. I fell in the water because it was all slippery, green, mossy, whatever. And I got all wet, cold. I held the camera up, but I'm like, cool. So I'm paddling, and it's Jim Palmer, the Newsletter Guru. And the little voice in my head, which always there, says, tell him what just happened. I said, yeah, by the way, I am soaking wet. I'm freezing, but the show must go on. And that was the turning point to me getting comments and views. And I just made this connection. And I remember hearing Allie Brown when she was the easing queen. She's a very high-powered coach now, but I met her at a Dan Kennedy event. And, oh, you're the print guy. I'm the easing queen, right? So she told a story about how when she started talking about her cats and her little tiny apartment in New York and all this and that, she said, the minute I started being real and not some fake business persona is when the views went up. So that was it. I was off to the races. Just be yourself. And, as Dan says, you're going to repel some people when you're your natural self, because not everybody enjoys childish, immature, Happy Gilmore humor. I do. But some people don't mind the humor as you deliver some really good stuff. Right. So that's what it was. I just got comfortable being myself, which, by the way, I finally understood at whatever age I was when that happened. The truth shall set you free. Remember that expression?
Yes.
I never have to pretend what audience I'm in front of. I don't have to do. I can just be myself and let it roll.
They talk about being authentic, and I see so many people out there pretending to be authentic. And the reality is, just be yourself, and I got to tell you, I have an uncle who was playing around with video back. We're talking in the 80s. Okay. And when I got on camera, I was so self-conscious, and I just was like, I hate how I look. I hate this, everything. Yeah. It took me literally 20 years to be able to just get on camera, not give a damn, and
not give a damn,
go at it, and that's what I loved about you. You just have this no holds barred. I'm going to make an impression. And if you are somebody who wants to speak, there is no such thing anymore as a speaking career. Okay, folks. Yeah. They hire experts, and you are going to speak to drive business to whatever you're selling, whether it's a service or a product.
I owe you, I don't know if you eat meat or not. I owe you a nice steak dinner or whatever you want to eat next time we're together, because you were the first one to call me. It's Captain Jim Palmer. And Brad, it was like this light bulb went off over my head, because, I was very open about my life, and people knew I was going to be moving on this boat and stuff. But it was that moment when I decided I've got to make this part of my marketing from now on. Yeah. And the more and then I thought to myself for half a second, is that going to be like, I don't know what the word is, braggadocious, ostentatious, whatever. Yeah. I don't want to be one of these people who I'm at a private airport. Nobody's around. So you run out and have somebody take a picture of you in front of somebody's private jet and go, "Hey, look at me." Right.
Yeah.
And I was sharing that with my buddy, Mike Capuzzi. He goes, "Yeah, but you really live on that boat." And to me, that was the connection. In full disclosure, when I went from being Jim Palmer, Dream Business Coach, to Captain Jim Palmer, Dream Business Coach, that boat was very symptomatic of, yes, I have had some success. It allows me to say you're successful without constantly saying, look how successful I am, right?
I think that's, I don't know about you. I grew up in Pennsylvania in a small town.
Yeah.
And, I remember this blew my mind. It's a story I remember to this day. My father was a chiropractor. So he also had a side business that grew into his main business, which was an accounting firm. And so we had both offices in our house. Okay. So one was on the side porch.
Oh my gosh.
One was my dad had an x-ray machine and he had his, professional office. So this farmer came in one day and got adjusted. And as he was leaving, I was like 10 years old and I have the blonde hair, the towhead blonde hair. Everybody had to mess on my hair. You remember when kids, they go, like it was good luck or something. I was like, and my dad goes, "Hey, meet, farmer so-and-so. He raises pigs and all this." And he had a little smell. Okay. He had coveralls on. He had a nice shirt on, but he had cleaned up. He had a baseball cap. And we were talking for like 5-10 minutes and how they do with kids. And he goes out to the truck and my dad drags me to the window and he goes, "I want you to watch that man, Bradley. Tell me what you think. What do you see?" And he had an old red Ford pickup truck, the 1958 ones. He didn't dress, fancy or anything. And I'm rattling off stuff. "Well, Dad, is he this? Is he that?" And he was a pig farmer, basically. And he goes, "That man has $4 million in the bank, Bradley." Wow. I said, "What?" And he goes, "I do his books and I take care of his bank recs and everything." He goes, "Never judge somebody when you see them dressed a certain way." He goes, "Television shows you the illusion of wealth. That man right there is the reality of wealth." And I'll never forget that lesson. Never. And that's why I treat, I've met multi-million-dollar skateboarders in New York City who own skateboard shops.
Right.
I've, gotten into, discussions with, didn't know it at the time, the guy owned Dean and DeLuca. He was the DeLuca,
Wow.
And he was dressed in jeans and a sweater. I mean, and I've met Steve Forbes, Donald Trump, top level people. And you just sit there and you go, okay, where's the reality zone on this? Because a lot of people now in the speaking industry and the coaching industry, they are literally wannabes. And you're the only person I know who has built a successful business through hard work, sweat, and you've earned all your success, my friend. I love seeing you on the boat and your books. They are practical advice. I want everybody to get over to your website. Where should people go if they want to get it?
They should go to Amazon because, I know, David Phelps, right? He was in our group for a long time. He's a member emeritus, but he's done amazingly well with his Freedom Founders group. And David, I interviewed David for one of his books last spring. Anyway, I read the book real quick so I could pretend I was talking about. And one of the chapters was about your legacy. And I thought, that's interesting. Every once in a while, I think about it. And then I look in the mirror and go, wow, I should really think more about it because I'm 64. I'll be 65 in June, which now I'm getting slammed with Medicare crap. But anyway, I'm thinking of, and the interesting thing is, I've been very, very blessed to be able to work 3 days a week for 7 years now. When I got my first boat, I stopped working Fridays and then I stopped working Mondays. So I do all my coaching Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which after we moved on the floating home and started traveling, that made it really nice. So we could travel Friday through Monday. I had to be in a marina with good Wi-Fi Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we start traveling again. But so I'm thinking about legacy. I think, you know what, maybe I'll work 2 days a week. And I just felt, I call it a nudge or a tap when God's trying to get your attention. And the message I got was that you need to help more people. There's more people you should be helping. I said, I really love my life. I don't want to work harder than I'm working now. And then I thought, wait a minute. the whole thing that got this conversation going was David's book. I've got 6 books. So I found a way to make the books for free. They don't like you selling them for free on Amazon, except for maybe a short little sale window. They're free. I'll tell you the trick offline if you want to know it, but it's too good to give away for free. But my books are free on Kindle. They're free at Barnes and Noble, and they're free in the iBook store, and obviously digital download. So anybody can have this education for free. Just go to Amazon. That's
incredible. Thank you, Jim. Hey,
welcome.
Anybody who doesn't take advantage of that, upside the head. Literally, I've been quoted in a couple of your books, and I got to tell you have amazing practical advice. You come up with some very exciting titles, and also there's no BS in there. It's really grassroots marketing and knowledge that you've accumulated by actually doing it. For those of you who don't know, when I was working with Jim, he has a team that would sit back and they go, okay, Jim would go, I want to do this. And they'd say, well, here's how we have to do it. And they'd figure out the logistics to do it. We have to program the website. We have to put up these ads. We have to do this. This is how I got to meet Adam Homey. And Adam and I are good friends. We've had a cigar and a glass of scotch a few times. But working with Jim, this is the amazing part. I watched Adam grow into one hell of a speaker. And Adam doesn't look like the guy who would be one heck of a speaker. And I love watching him on stage because his confidence is just contagious. His little snarky way about himself is amazing. And if you've ever opened a comic book back in the day, the guy with the x-ray glasses like that, that's what Adam looks like. Okay. And he gets on stage and he just controls that stage, and he's got something solid to sell. And I have to believe it's because of some of your coaching.
Well, he's been with me from the beginning. He's my longest coaching client. And Adam will tell you, he spoke at every Dream Business Academy because it's not just because he's a friend and he's been with me for a long time. He's got some really good information. That's the only way you're going to get on my stage. But he more than anybody wants me to do a 9th Dream Business Academy because he loves speaking. And he'll tell you, he pretty much cut his teeth speaking on my stage. And he's very, very good.
I'm a speaker and I consider myself pretty good. And I would be honored anytime to stand on stage with Adam because he is that good and he makes me laugh. He's
very smart. One of the smartest people I know.
Yeah, incredibly smart. I wanted to get back to David Phelps. David is just incredible. I mean, this is a guy who took your knowledge plus the knowledge he had plus a bunch of other people and created this, Freedom Founders. And he had me come in, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, and talk about generational issues.
Yeah.
Okay. And I wound up staying there for 4 days. Like, he had me come in, talk on the first night. The next day I did my keynote. And then he had me stick around for 2 more days to run masterminds and talk to people and everything. And here was the power, and you know this about the work you do. I had a father and son team that were sitting there, and they were complaining to each other until my speech. And then we spent a couple of days together, and they were like, oh my God. So it's just different communication styles and the ability to get things done using technology from one generation to the next. And that kind of stuff brings joy to me. I don't know about you, but you do all this research, you do all this work, and then it's like a God thing, where it's like, if I touch one soul, and I say this before I go on stage every time, let me touch one person's life.
Yep.
I say this to God, let me touch one person's life. If I bomb, I bomb. If I'm good, I'm good. But let me reach at least one person in this room. And I think you probably do like a similar, thing, because it's not easy. I don't know about you, but when I was first practicing to do speeches, I'm like, this is ridiculous. What am I doing? Did that happen?
Yeah. Well, I heard this expression, one person helping one person can change the world, because I started, as I started getting some success and we paid all our debt off and just being a different mindset, we wanted to do more, to give back, pay forward, tithe, whatever you want to call it. And And at the time, I'm looking at all these people, like, Ryan Dice, Russell Brunson, just a whole bunch of people, and they're building schools, in Africa, or they're doing all these huge things. And for some reason, I felt that just seems so big to me. I don't know, and then someone told me, I don't recall who, but when they said just each person has the ability to change one person's life. And it was interesting. It was around that time. I'm not sure if you followed this, but I met a homeless man in St. Augustine, Florida, named George. And I was so nervous. And I'll say this unabashedly. I feel awkward sometimes giving money to homeless because you're not sure if it's going to go to drink or drugs or whatever. And I could be wrong for me to say that. I'm sorry. I'm just being raw with you here. So he was sitting in this bench every morning, and I'd go out for walks early in the morning, and I got some bagels, and I went up to him, but I said, "Excuse me, sir, are you hungry?" He goes, "Yes, I am." And I gave him the bagels, and he goes, "I just want you to know, I don't drink and I don't do drugs." And I'm like, holy crap. That was like a message. And I said, "Are you here every day?" And I kind of knew it. And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "I'll bring you breakfast tomorrow." Well, that started, we were there for a month. We became friends. I found out how he got homeless. And then he left South Carolina. Anyway, long story short, I helped him get his ID back. I got him to the Social Security, where he had all kinds of back money and a certain amount that he could get every month. So suddenly he had money again. George is in Georgia. Just talked to him 3 days ago. He's in Georgia living in a trailer, but I mean, he's got a roof over his head. And I know you'll appreciate this. I said, "George, you need to go to church." And he goes, "Yeah, but I got to be honest with you. And I wouldn't tell anybody this but you, Jim." He goes, "I don't have any long pants." I said, "What size is your waist?" Well, I got on Amazon, and 3 days later, he had some long pants. And I sent a note, said, "These are your church pants. Make sure you put them to good use." And I'm telling you this because I'm helping one person. I mean, Stephanie and I have other charities we support, but this is kind of like my thing. And I know I've made such an impact on George, and I know we're supposed to do that. So I'm not looking for praise, but sometimes if you don't think you can build a school or you can do whatever it is that's too big, people, I'm going to impact 1 million lives. Well, that's fine. But what if you, I don't know, make your own goal, right? And so anyway, the quick funny story is George he goes, "I even got a mailbox out there." And he goes, "What's your address?" And I'm talking to him, and I Googled his address. I said, "Oh, you got brown shutters." You know how Zillow something came up. Yeah. He goes, I can see your home. He goes, "Just a minute, I'll go out and wave to you." I said, No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. But anyway, George, we've been friends for like 3.5 years now.
Wow.
And so it's pretty amazing. Yeah. It's very cool.
God bless you, Jim Palmer. You're a man of many talents, as well as a heart filled with compassion. So I'm going to switch gears here.
Okay.
There's another thing I've always admired about you. You married your sweetheart from when you were, what, 17 or 18? And
18 years old.
I always give you a hard time about this right around the anniversary, because you were working at her father's bike shop and you had a crush on her. Tell this story.
Oh, geez. So yeah, we've been married 42 years. I can't 42 years. Good Lord. But so when I was a small town in Massachusetts, and then we moved to Pennsylvania when I was 18. I went to 1 year of college in New Hampshire. My parents moved. I said, "Yeah, I'm not ready to be on my own." So I moved with them to Pennsylvania.
Right.
I got a job working in her dad's bike store as a bike mechanic. One day I'm wrenching in the back room, and Stephanie walks through the back door to go talk to her parents. And I'm like, oh, Homer Simpson, right? And the guy on the other side of the workbench goes, "Jesus, Jim, not too obvious." He goes, "You like Stephanie, right?" And I go, "Yeah, she's cute." And I was very, very shy. Stephanie was very, very shy times 10. So this guy's name was Earl Peacock. I owe him my life today. He goes, "Hey, Stephanie." She peers her head back. "What is it, Earl?" "Jim really likes you, wants to ask you out." Well, both of us turned fire engine red, but I said, no turning back. So we went out. I think we saw the movie The Goodbye Girl. That was probably around 1977, if I remember right. Marsha Mason and Dreyfus there. So, and we have been together ever since. We were married just at our 2-year anniversary of dating, and we've been married 42 years. We got married. She was 20. I was 21. By the time I was 23, we had our first of 4 kids. By the time I was 29, we had 4 kids because the third one turned out to be twins. But and it was actually Stephanie's idea to live on a boat, and which was pretty cool.
That's a match made in heaven. But I always love teasing you because it reminds me of Pee-wee's Big Adventure where he's in the bike shop with Dottie. He's like, you don't want to get involved with a guy like me, Dottie. I'm a rebel, And so ladies and gentlemen, and I know that you appreciate this because I love to tease her and you about this, but that bike shop story is such a classic romantic story.
Well, and the joke is that Jim tried to marry into the family fortune, and unfortunately they were very broke because the bike shop didn't make much money.
Yeah.
So it must be true love, right?
Yeah. Well, some of the greatest adventures in our lives, a lot of times come from our significant other. I wouldn't be in Denver if it wasn't for my girlfriend Tao. I'm a big person when it comes to risk taking. I love when I see people just ditch it and go and do it. Take action. And you talk about this massive action you talk about.
And what was interesting to me, and that's why I wrote my 6th book, which is not up there, called Just Say Yes. And I realized that when we made the decision to sell our house and move on the boat, and to me, I was excited about it, but it didn't strike me as like, holy crap, that is just too crazy, right? Yeah. But after we did it and stuff, people are like, how did you have the nerve to do that? But the thing about it is, I wrote that book because I realized how entrepreneurial it was for us in our personal life to do something very risky. I mean, our financial planner said, so if I'm 64, I would have been like 58 or 59. He goes, at this stage of the game, a boat is not necessarily a good investment, right? My expression is, I don't want to be 90 wearing an orange apron at Walmart, So we're putting away for retirement and stuff like that. And, but it was interesting, Brad, that there was so much about that. And we were going to do it for 1 year. We sold the house, put most of our belongings in storage because it was going to be for 1 year. We called it our big adventure. And then we'll come back to reality, our predictable life. And, but 3 months in, we go, this is just way too much fun.
Yeah.
Despite running aground, despite running out of fuel, all the things I feared have happened, but we're still floating. And I said, wow, it woke me up again, because the last 3 years prior to doing that, probably, kind of the peak of my career, doing really well. We finally became debt free, all this other stuff. I got great coaching clients. So I don't know if I was coasting, but I wasn't, putting major effort like I did the first 12 years. Right. And I think that was fine. But all of a sudden, we have to almost every day we're figuring out how to solve a problem, overcome a challenge. One of the engines shuts off. What are you going to do? What about this? What about that? How are you going to get from here to there in only 8 hours? I mean, all these things, and we're working at it. We're solving problems, and we're taking risks again, which was like, this is the entrepreneurial side of our personal life, right? And the other thing is, we have to work together. Stephanie and I get along fine, but there's moments like everybody where I want to do my thing. This is my business. You go do your thing. But we had to communicate. Docking the boat, we wear wireless headsets. I can't see the back of the boat from the bridge. And she talks me in. Okay, you're a little close on the port. Go to star, blah, 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 blah. We have to communicate constantly.
That's incredible. That says a lot. That is a huge testament to your marriage as well, because I know a lot of couples.
One quick funny story about working together, because I'm the captain. So does the captain get the final say? Well, not always, but we met this couple that had been together on their boat for like 30 years. And it's like, when we first started traveling, I'm like, well, we're tied to the dock and it's a little windy out there, but so I didn't know whether to leave or not, or should we just stay? And so I'm going up and down the dock talking to other captains. What are you going to do? What would you do? And the woman spoke up and she goes, well, we own the boat together. We're 50-50. And if he wants to go, but I don't, he can't leave with my half of the boat. So we don't go, which the major lesson there is both people have to be in agreement, right?
Yeah.
And the other expression I learned is that I'd much rather be tied to the dock wishing I was out there than being out there wishing I was tied to the dock. If those are the two choices, stay put if it looks like bad weather.
Yeah. Wow. That's a great story. That is a great story with communication, business partnerships, life partners, all
both
that.
People have to agree on a major decision or it doesn't happen.
Now, I have to say, you look younger now than you did 5 years ago.
Well,
so this is also a testament to grabbing that joy, because I do know a lot of people who are right this second, right now, saying to themselves, okay, I'm going to die soon. And that's what they're preparing for. And you're not. You're living life, full throttle, man. And it shows in your face, your happiness, your joy. You got a little more gray hair. We all do. Hello. I
let my hair grow a little longer, although I got a trim recently. But you know what? It is about living with joy, right? We made a decision after 5 years to move back to land, spend more time with our family. Plus, Steph's dad is 95. It's like, I don't know if he's going to be around too much longer, maybe, but
right.
We should. And to be fair to her sister, who's always taking care of her dad, so it was the right call for us. Not to mention the fact that we went to the Keys this winter, which was the furthest we've ever gone. It was a 2,600-mile round trip on a boat that gets 1 mile to the gallon. And you know what happened with the cost of fuel? Diesel fuel on average over 5 years was about $2.80 a gallon. On the way back from the Keys, we were up at $6 a gallon. My boat takes 400 gallons when I fill it up, and it took 4 fill-ups to get home. So, that got to be, I'm like, oh my God. That was one of the things that led to us. This would be a good time because who knows, not to get political, but who knows how long we're going to be in this soup right now.
Right.
We always rebound. That's what we do as a country. But right now, things are a little dicey. I said, I don't want to be sitting on a boat worth that much money if the economy goes to crap completely.
Right.
Right. So we made a decision, a pretty quick one. We were on the way back, and I talked to a broker, Brad, and he goes, this was like early May. And he said, Jim, the best time to sell a boat, especially one like that, is a sunny Saturday in May. And you only got 2 left. So we boogied on up. We pulled into our slip and our home port on Saturday. I spent Sunday and Monday cleaning the exterior. Steph borrowed our neighbor's car, our slip neighbor's car, rented a storage unit, emptied our boat. We had the boat listed with pictures on Wednesday. Now, what would that be? 4 days later, the listing went live Thursday. One couple from New York came on the boat Saturday and made us an offer we couldn't refuse. In 1 week's time, we sold the boat.
Yeah, it was
amazing. A whirlwind. Yeah.
Woo! So you're back on dry land now, huh?
We're on dry land. And as I always say when I'm posting, it's our temporary land address because we would like to do the Great Loop. But the other thing we'll probably do next, honestly, in another year or so, is we're going to get in an RV like your very first guest there.
Yeah.
Damon. We're going to get in an RV and tour this big, beautiful country, all those national parks. I want to see it before I'm unsafe to drive. So that'll probably be the next step.
I don't think that's going to happen for a long time with you, man.
Right.
You're keeping you're staying in shape. You're doing something right because you do not look your age.
Well, because I've got, pre-diabetes, so I'm not allowed to have sugar. She's got us doing fasting and, we're active. So, I only say it because I grimace a little bit, but yeah, she's got us in pretty good shape, and I'm happy about that.
Good. That's fantastic. So I'm going to ask you a quick lightning round. I know we're at the 12 o'clock mark. Can we do another 5 minutes? Are you okay?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, good. So I'm going to, I can't ask the normal questions I ask my guests because you're already living your dream life and doing all this. So I guess what I'd really have to ask you about is there anything that makes you mad, like really upsets you?
Well, 2 things. So number one, corruption and phoniness, which we won't go there, but I've recently, believe me, it's almost like a 12-step program because I've gone off news and I've made a decision that, and again, this goes to faith. God's in control of everything.
Yeah.
And for me to be upset looking at news and websites and this, that, and the other thing. The only thing I can really do is vote and live my life the way I think it should be lived and let him take care of everything else. It seems weird because we need to stand up. Well, what can we really do other than vote and hope it counts? So corruption and dishonesty, but the other thing, which you sort of touched on, is phoniness. And in the online marketing world, especially with coaches and gurus and things like that, for people to put themselves out there as, I can teach you how to have a 6 or 7 figure business and you're earning $27,000 a year yourself. There's something wrong. Now, if it's legal and morally and all this, then go try and have a business. But personally, you should not be a coach and take money to help people, teach people, guide them, and mentor them unless you've done it yourself. That's just my own.
Exactly. You have to. And here's the oddest thing, Jim. I took my company public on NASDAQ.
Yeah.
Okay. Raised millions. I've been in Crane's Business Week, Advertising Age. No one has ever asked me to coach them. They always go for the sharp, shiny object syndrome. Oh my God, that guy has a Lamborghini, and me and Tony Watley always crack up about this. He's this side hustle millionaire. Tony he's like, these guys are fake, they are fakers.
Mm-hmm.
They rent the Lamborghini for the day and then they use their apartment complex, common area to pretend it's like their patio and all this. And it's just like,
nice.
It's ridiculous. The real coaches out there, Jim Palmer, my friends, if you want to be coached, please call Jim Palmer. One last question. You're a faith-based man. You're a God-fearing man. You communicate to the Lord. I have to ask you, what do you want to leave behind as your legacy?
So I guess 2 things. One of them, again, we've touched on, which is pretty amazing. I want people to know. I would like to know that I made people laugh. For some reason, making people laugh brings me joy. Literally, I will go to picnics where groups of friends, or I'll go to a family event. I was at my brother's house and his daughter, my niece, goes, "Hey, Jimmy, this is it's called Jim. Family calls me Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy, this is so-and-so. I told him you're really funny. Go ahead and be funny." I'm like, what? But no, I do enjoy bringing levity and making people laugh. But I also, on the business side, I want to know that I made a difference. And I know I get to know that as a coach. And then I just, like most God-fearing men, I want to hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And at some point, I believe you're going to get to see what you've done when you get to heaven. There was a book about that. I forget, the 7 people you meet or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't, not for the accolades, but just because there's ways that you are touching people that you're not aware of right now. And somebody told me early on in my faith journey, after I, had cancer and stuff, this guy says, "Jim, you're always playing to an audience of 1. Just remember that. One person knows everything," which is kind of scary sometimes the way I behave, but you know what I mean? But I just want to be known as a person who gave a damn and had a good time doing good things.
That is awesome. Great way to close the show. Ladies and gentlemen, pick up Jim's books. Go to Amazon because they're all there and they're for free. You can download the Kindle version for free. I like to hold books. I have several of your books in paperback, which I love. They're a great read. They're easy to read. He's also a student of Dan Kennedy, who, if you don't know who he is, he's one of the top marketing people out there who gives you really practical, I guess I would call it contrarian advice that works. Just phenomenal work.
That's where I learned how to write, from Dan, to be honest with you.
Your latest book is Say Yes.
Just Say Yes.
Just Say Yes.
Yeah.
And it really is about embracing life. Dude, it is such an honor to catch up and have you on the show.
Now I'm mad that it took this long to reconnect again, because what a fun time, Brad. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome. Well, we'll keep having you on because we have guests of the show who are friends of the show, and like Michael Howell, he's a big conspiracy theory guy, but he writes policies for the United States government, so he ain't a theorist, So, and then we've had couple of people on. I had Brian Smith on, who founded Uggs, who created Uggs.
Nice.
They kicked him out of his company, and he had to climb back in. He had to pay his way in. He swore a lot because Australians are.
Yeah.
Crikey, Brad, that's a great question.
Crikey.
Yeah, and so you are just. I love having entrepreneurs on, Jim, simply because they tell this great story, and it's always about failure before you find success.
Yeah.
And a lot of us need to know the mindset. We need to know, how the hell do you get over all this boom, boom, boom in your life?
Listen, we could fill an hour on money mindset, worrying about what other people think, perfectionism. We could do a great hour on that. So whenever you want, you let me know.
Let's talk, because I just did a series for Dr. Joel Wallach and Dr. Randy Shannon, and we turned it into a product so that people can download it, buy it, or get the CD. So, Jim, an honor to have you on the show today.
No. Brad, Captain Jim. That's from you.
Please forgive me, oh Captain, oh Captain.
No. Yeah, my Captain. There you go.
Thank you. Captain Jim Palmer, thank you for being on Awakened Nation, my friend.
My pleasure, Brad. Thank you.
You bet. Hey, everybody, tune in next week. We're going to have another extraordinary guest here on Awakened Nation as we close out season 4. Very excited, and the holidays are coming. So don't forget, tune in again next week. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you so much for being a big part of the Awakened Nation movement. This is how you can help me and our extraordinary guests. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And let's grow this movement by word of mouth. Our success will be because of you. Thank you, and see you next week.